Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you're all perfectly familiar with the problems of the 1970s. I will not stand here and pretend Britain was not in the midst of severe crisis. I will not deny Britain was in need of change. However, this concession does not affect the core of this debate. This is not a discussion about the 1970s. This is a debate about Thatcher's response to it, her actions, and her legacy. This is where this debate really centres. Thatcher did not save Britain. She failed Britain, and did so for three main reasons. Firstly, Thatcher facilitated the development of vast and irreconcilable levels of inequality. Secondly, Thatcher exacerbated regional fractures and division. And thirdly, Thatcherism has left our generation with an unsustainable economic structure inherently prone to collapse. You have all been missold. The 2008 recession demonstrates the inherent instability of the Thatcherite consensus, its weakness, its inherent frailty. Be under no illusion. Thatcher's legacy has not been one of long-term economic success, but the basis of current economic demise. So to my first point, Thatcher instigated large-scale inequality. Thatcher presided over the highest rate of unemployment in the past 50 years. Widespread social destruction, a decade defined by dole queues and soup kitchens. Thatcher abandoned long-standing government commitments to employ and redistribute growth. In a period where income for the richest more than doubled, unemployment quadrupled, ladies and gentlemen. Is this the economic rescue the proposition we're referring to? Ladies and gentlemen, it is worth reflecting on the true absurdity of what the proposition is saying. They're saying that all those who could not afford to feed their families, left unemployed, with nothing, all those people are the mark of economic progress. Ladies and gentlemen, every one of these men and women are a national tragedy. Child poverty went up under Thatcher. Malnutrition went up. Suicide, up. We can sit here and bat aggregate figures between arbitrary years, but in the only real economic measure worth anything is quality of life. The proposition will not present one figure on this topic this evening, ladies and gentlemen, I promise you, and it's because it's here the true catastrophe of Thatcherism is laid bare. It's great when the national economy is growing, but if none of this is going to ordinary people, then what is the point? This is the true nature of Thatcher's government, not one of success, but a system inherently riddled with inequality, the construction of a long-term social stratification. However, this is not just inequality on an individual level, but on a national level, ladies and gentlemen. Thatcher presided over policies that exacerbated regional disparity and decimated communities. The utter failure of the Thatcher government to provide any kind of support to collapsing localities is a national scandal. Even if you support her industrial strategy, how can you justify standing by and watching local communities' employment collapse? Sit back, do nothing while people queue round the corner for the dole in Teesside. Tolerate malnutrition in Yorkshire's pit villages. Watch entire communities, regions become desolate. Ladies and gentlemen, even if you think her economic policy was justified, even if you think many parts of industrial Britain were beyond saving, how can you justify this failure to do anything to mitigate such suffering? It's no surprise she voted for the abandonment of Liverpool in 1981. She left communities on the proverbial scrap heap. It remains our challenge to pull them off. Thatcher took the country the same way she took the Conservative Party, utterly dependent on city money. This complete indifference for the concerns of the wider economy saw industry collapse. Manufacturing output fell by 30% during Thatcher's first term in office. Today, the service sector comprises 78% of Britain's economy. She had promised to reinvigorate industry, to bring stability and balance. This is a failure on her terms, ladies and gentlemen. Not only did she oversee the destruction of local communities, but the destabilising of our economic base. This cannot be considered a rescue even by her own standards. Thatcher left us with an economic structure inherently riddled with inequality and instability. How can Britain be economically successful with her long-term investment being so meagre and wealth being so centralised? 2008 exposed the risk associated with financial services dependency, the danger of deregulation, the erosion of key oversight. Fundamentally, the ineffectiveness of a governmental approach that abdicates all responsibility for making an economy work and protecting people from its inherent failure. Thatcher's government was characterised by record oil windfalls squandered on covering the cost of her human wastage. A government that in 1 year sold off vast quantities of social housing and the next cut the housing budget by 64%. Ladies and gentlemen, what do we really have to show for the continuing Thatcherite economic project? We have 1.5 million on social housing waiting lists with nowhere to go. Record low interest rates, just so ordinary people can cling on to their homes. The longest and deepest recession since the 1950s. This is contemporary decline born of Thatcherism, and now we're paying the price. Britain, to my mind, has always been a country sustained on principles of fairness, universalism, and opportunity. They were principles that pulled us through the darkest days of war. Principles that introduced world-leading universal healthcare, provided hope and widespread advancement. These are principles the Thatcherite consensus has fundamentally failed to provide. Thatcherism divided this country. It protected some communities while obliterating others. It made some very rich while making others very, very poor. We can do better. Better than prosperity for a few at the expense of the many. Better than success for a few communities and desolation for many others. We can do better than the inequality and division of Thatcherism. Fundamentally, when seeking our national saviour, ladies and gentlemen, we can do better. Oppose the motion.
Hear, hear.